The Citizenship Amendment Act, 1949. The discussion with respect to drafting of Article 5 of the Indian Constitution took place in the Constituent Assembly on 10 to 12 August 1949. The Article 5 as we see today was introduced by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar himself. The Constituent Assembly, which drafted the Constitution of India, had rejected a move to define citizenship on religious lines. This discussion intends to examine the views expressed by the members of the Constituent Assembly in that regard. The discussion that took place begins with the explaining of Article 5 of the Indian Constitution, as we now see the members of Class 12A present here to recreate the scenario once again. The discussion that takes place with the reading of Article 5 of the Constitution of India by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, as we now see.
At the date of commencement of this constitution, every person who has his domicile in the territory in India and who was born in the territory of India, or either whose parents was born in the territory of India, or who has been ordinarily resident in the territory of India for not less than 5 years immediately preceding the date of such commencement, shall be a citizen of India.
Dr. Punjab Rao Shamrao Deshmukh, who later became Minister of Agriculture in the first cabinet of Jawaharlal Nehru in 1952, moved an amendment to this draft, which read as follows.
Every person residing in India who is born of Indian parents or who is naturalized under the law of naturalization, and every person who is a Hindu or a Sikh by religion and is not a citizen of any other state, wherever he resides, shall be entitled to be a citizen of India. Here we are an entire nation with a history of thousands of years, and we are going to discard it. In spite of the fact that neither the Hindu nor the Sikh has any other place in wide world to go to. But the mere fact that he is a Hindu or a Sikh, he should get Indian citizenship. Because it is this one circumstance that makes him disliked by others. But we are a secular state and do not want to recognize the fact that every Hindu or a Sikh in any part of the world should have a home of his own. If the Muslims want an exclusive place for themselves called Pakistan, why should not Hindus and Sikhs have an India as their home?
On this account, Shibban Lal Saxena responds by saying,
we should not be ashamed in saying that every person who is a Hindu or a Sikh by religion and is not a citizen of another state shall be entitled to citizenship of India. That will cover every class whom we want to cover and will be comprehensive. The phrase secular should not frighten us, and reality must be faced. I therefore think that Dr. Deshmukh has given a very good suggestion.
P.S. Deshmukh drew strong support from Das Bhargav, who had also said,
Hindus and Sikhs have no other home but India. The phrase secular should not frighten us in saying what is a fact, and reality must be faced.
R.K. Sidhwa, another member, responds by saying,
Then my honorable friend Dr. Deshmukh has suggested an amendment to this very article wherein he wants that the Sikhs and Hindus, wherever they are born and whenever they desire, shall be entitled to become citizens of India. When he has mentioned names of communities, I would like to point out to you, sir, and the members in this house, that there are nearly 16,000 Parsis who are professing the faith of Zoroastrian outside India. There are about 12,000 in Iran, and those persons who are in Iran are professing the same faith as the Parsis are professing in India. And I know that Article 5b covers the point which my honorable friend Dr. Deshmukh desires, wherein it is laid that even the grandfathers and their grandfathers, if they are born in other countries, if they desire to become citizens of India, can so become. Dr. Deshmukh's amendment causes a wider privilege and right, Although I am not on this amendment, if the drafting committee is going to consider this, I would like them to bear in mind that there are other communities, and merely to mention the Sikhs and Hindus would not, I think, be proper.
Opposing the proposal by P.S. Deshmukh, Sardar Bhupinder Maan also said,
Sir, in the definition of citizenship, which covers fairly extensive ground, the viewpoint of Hindu and Sikh refugees has been met to some extent by the drafting committee, whom I congratulate on that account. But, as usual, a weak sort of secularism has crept in, and an unfair partiality has been shown to those who least deserve it. I was saying that the Hindu and Sikh refugees viewpoint has been met to some extent, but not wholly. I do not understand why the 19th July 1948 has been prescribed for the purpose of citizenship. These unfortunate refugees could not have foreseen this date. Otherwise, they would have invited Pakistan knife earlier so that they might have come here earlier and acquired citizenship rights. It will be very cruel to shut our borders to those who are victimized after the 19th July 1948. They are as much sons of the soil as anyone else. This political mishap was not of their own seeking, and now it will be very cruel to place these political impediments in their way and debar them from coming over to Bharat Mata, who, because of communal riots in Pakistan, has come over to India and stays here at the commencement of this constitution, should automatically be considered as a citizen of India and should on no account be made to go to a registering authority and plead before him and establish a qualification of 6 months domicile to claim rights of citizenship.
criticizing the proposal by Dr. Deshmukh, Mehboob Ali Beg Sahib also said,
It is very strange that Dr. Deshmukh should contemplate giving citizenship rights only to persons who are Hindu or Sikh by religion. He characterized the provision in the article granting citizenship rights as ridiculously cheap. I would say, on the other hand, that his conception is ridiculous. Therefore, let us not follow the example of those countries which we are condemning everywhere, not only here but also in the United Nations, and complaining that although Indians have been living in those countries, they have not been granted citizenship rights.
the proposal by Dr. Deshmukh was not liked by Jawaharlal Nehru as well. On his turn, he responded,
Now, all these rules naturally apply to Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, or anybody else. You cannot have rules for Hindus, Muslims, for Christians only. It is absurd on the face of it. The assembly shouldn't be under the impression that they have done something amazingly generous or sacrificial by being secular. They have done something which every country does, except for a very few misguided and backward countries.
another important member, Aladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, presented his views.
We are plighted to the principles of a secular state. We may make a distinction between people who have voluntarily and deliberately chosen another country as their home and those who want to retain their connection with this country. But we cannot, on any racial or religious or other grounds, make a distinction between one kind of persons and another, or one sect of persons and another sect of persons, having regard to our commitments and the formulation of our policy on various occasions.
If Deshmukh thought Dr. Ambedkar was being unnecessarily generous, Brajeshwar Prasad one-upped Baba Sahib as well. He said,
I wish all the people of Pakistan should be invited to come and stay in this country. By this, I intend to say that Hindus and Muslims were blood brothers, and the mischief of partition should not be allowed to spread beyond its legal fact. A common citizenship for all Asians, and as preliminary step, common citizenship between India and Pakistan.
Earlier in the debate, Jaspat Roy Kapoor had dealt a few sharp words at Brajeshwar Prasad while suggesting that the economic impact of granting citizenship to Muslims at the commencement of the constitution should be borne in mind. When Brajeshwar Prasad had his turn, he responded.
Reason why a Muslim who is a citizen of this country should be deprived of his citizenship at the commencement of this constitution, especially when we are inviting Hindus who have come to India from Pakistan to become citizens of this country. People who have never been in India but have always lived in the Punjab and on the frontier have come and become citizens of this state. Why cannot a Mohammedan of the frontier be so when we have always said that we are one?
The debate did not see an uncontested view on any particular citizenship related issue. Dr. Ambedkar made his closing remarks and said,
It is future parliament who should have their says. The Constituent Assembly must only enable a transition through the Constitution.
the citizenship clauses were admittedly the most complex for the draftsmen to put down. They had been sent back on two previous occasions. The debate had been heated and had gone on for more than 9 hours over 3 days. Some members had also suggested that further debate was required. Dr. Rajendra Prasad had wanted to put the citizenship provision to vote. To decide whether it was ready for vote, there was yet another vote. There were 59 a yes and 35 no's. Then this exchange occurred.
Now I will have to put the various amendments to the vote.
Let them all be withdrawn.
Deshmukh, however, had not withdrawn his first two amendments. They had been put to vote and rejected. Dr. Rajendra Prasad put the draft article moved by Dr. Ambedkar to vote. The motion was adopted. Article 5 of the Indian Constitution did not recognize citizenship by religion. At the end of the day, on August 12, 1949, the President had adjourned the Assembly to meet 5 days later at 9 in the morning. Shyamanandan Sahai had put forth an innocuous request. He had said,
May I suggest, sir, that on the 18th we may assemble in the afternoon in view of the fact that some trains come late?
Indeed, the following Thursday on August 18, 1949, the Constituent Assembly met at 3 p.m. Thank you.